The accidental horror game, a phenomenon in which a game clearly not meant to be scary ends up scaring millions. Mainly kids, as did this little ditty back in 1988 called John Madden Hand Egg. Now, I wasn't quite alive just yet at the time, so this never really applied to me much, but I do have my own selection of stories about games scaring the shit out of me, not through wee little one-off events like this one, but through spawning entire urban legends. And personally, I find the way that video games can inspire and influence one's imagination and even pop culture in general quite deeply interesting. And so, I wish to talk about it and make video. This is that video. If you were born during the 90s at any point, chances are your best and only friend during the grim dark early 2000s was the PlayStation 2. Every day I'd scoot my ass on home from school, boot that boy up and be graced by the warm, welcoming blue screen and some like squares and yeah, this thing was always kinda eerie, not gonna lie. As was the GameCube's menu whenever this happened. Not sure what was going on back then that prompted creepy soundscapes and off-key sound effects to be so prevalent, though somewhere in between Aphex Twin getting actual MTV airplay with shit like this, Sony's own fucking adverts that scared me even more, and the fact that new metal was a thing somehow, I can only assume that it was a dark time indeed. Also, 9/11 maybe? Some school shootings happened? Shit, maybe it wasn't okay at all. Not that I noticed, as I was yet to be a teenager and thus my life was pretty honky-dory. After all, my homie the PS2 always had my back. Or that is until one day where I decided to get experimental. And I don't mean that in the sticking pencils up my ass kind of way, but more so in the I wonder what would happen if I was to put a random PC game into my PS2.
As one gapes into the abyss also gapes into you.
Even today, just through association alone, this screen still makes the hairs on my ass stand right up. I mean, for one, the blue and cubes hang around, really leaving you in questionable territory. And then, once it finally does that dramatic zoom it always does, you don't get the comparatively cheery. But instead, what I showed you literally just a minute ago, so no point repeating it now. It fucked me up, fam. The dark red, the abyss surrounding it, and the sounds of beaches made me turn off my PS2, cry to my mom a little bit, and run on over to my friends to tell them the tales of woe who refused to believe me, but fuck if I was gonna do that again. And so, for years, I kind of figured that I was alone on this.
Until now.
As upon doing research for this video, I ended up reading tons of accounts of this traumatizing others, and holy shit, oh my god, the PS2's wrong disc screen basically scarred an entire generation. And I haven't even gotten to any of the actual games yet. In case of kid, you might find that your own curiosity and general lack of smart makes the world a fuck of a whole lot more interesting. Naturally, this also reflects itself in how you would consume media, mainly those of the interactive varieties. Some people might be all like, bruh, nowadays that's not a thing anymore because the internet and game fags. But fuck you, shut up, it sure as shit still is. Like, believe you me, pencil dick, but we're gonna be seeing Mad Gaming Anal's videos about how Herobrine scared me as a kid 5 or so years from now. Hell, even when I first played Minecraft on my own back in like 2011 while knowing fuck all about it, I got a bit spooked by all of the dark caves filled with... But also... And then also... Shit was mysterious enough as it was, so you can perhaps imagine how that would impact the less developed and more imaginative. See, to me, games are like the perfect thing to project some spicy-ass playground meme theories onto, regardless of the time or place. And what gets me as well is how global some of these bitches managed to be, even before the internet took off proper. I mean, back when I was like 7 or whatever, there was a rumor going around about how there was supposedly a Mew hiding behind this truck near boat in Pokemon Red and Blue. For years, I just assumed it to be a local thing, and yet here I am now talking about it in a video with thousands of you no doubt nodding along. And I mean, to this day as well, there's full-grown men who are dead-on convinced that there's a secret Triforce hidden in an Ocarina of Time somewhere just because of some old-ass trailer showing it off. It's supposed to be behind this little cubbyhole underwater, though. Clipping through it reveals dickhole. Anyway, what I'm getting at here is that these urban legends from non-existent worlds actually bring us together in the real world. And I think that that's pretty cool. Though, if I am honest, the Herobrines and Triforces never really impacted me much. No. What got me and my friends going was all of the shit surrounding this wee little ditty called GTA San Andreas. Two of the main reasons as to why this game left behind such a traumatizing mark on millions is likely due to it A, being a giant fucking game with many secrets, and it B, coming out during the burgeoning verge of the modern internet. By which I mean that YouTube kinda exploded about a year or two after it coming out, thus prompting shit tons of videos spiraling its actual Easter eggs out into the memosphere. What's interesting to me as well is that for me, this started off with the kids in my neighborhood with seemingly no outside influences. I know this because I was one of the main proponents of the alien rumor. Now, I know, this story didn't come from me, and there are probably many others out there who thought this up on their own as well, nor are the aliens actually there either, but it's just one of those things where the kitty lie was too strong, as even now I quite vividly remember seeing little gray-greenish blue boys out near that one abandoned desert town. I mean, why else would it be there if not to serve a purpose, right? Well, it's used in this cutscene where a corpse is buried, but because I was a cheeky cheating mean child, I had made my way to this area long before I would find that out. And yeah, just having this little town here alone was more than enough for me to get my imagination going, I guess. Though I imagine the literal actual Area 51 next door helping out as well. A place that, try as I might, was never able to get into. Jetpacks, airplanes, tanks, nothing could withstand the wrath of endless missiles. Thus only really getting a small taste of its interior from a distance, which it had as well, and that's just also kind of my point really. The foggy open forests, the giant mountain with all of its little pathways, the town, and the Area 51 among other things, all felt like deliberately placed places, making it rather easy for one to provide a home-made purpose. As that bit about Zelda alluded to earlier, there's still plenty of people out there obsessing over cut content, especially when beta elements and or temporarily stored objects can be found within the games themselves through hacking and glitches. And so, a little over a full decade ago, I too fell into the GTA hell rabbit hole. You see, if you go into the Los Santos gym and clip through the ceiling using jetpack, you could enter the void. Avoid hiding unused level assets. I will admit though, something about how the game gradient scales its darkness as a giant crane emerges from the depths after having passed through a hellgate does feel pretty ominous in a very stupid and not at all ominous way. Certainly with music like this. But yeah, eventually you'll arrive at a train station that's just a train station from the second island being stored here for some reason. I mean, with a game this big, they obviously don't have the time to clean up all of the stray assets, and if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say that this was used for a quick cutscene cutaway so that they wouldn't actually have to load a chunk otherwise super far away. But, of course, when you're staying up past midnight hopped up on Monster during a night home alone, shit's plenty fucking spooky. Especially when you consider that the YouTube channel hosting this shit also had actual real Easter eggs on there as well, like how you were able to shoot the moon to make it bigger, or the very real Zombo Tech Building. It's so funny to me how these shits slowly began to mimic actual real-life conspiracy videos. Fucking blurry ass imagery of people pointing at a dot off in the sky, parading it around as proof that UFOs exist, and even something as minor as a straight NPC car wigging out was quickly labeled as the ghost car. It's all pretty fucking great, not gonna lie. GTA Myths 1, carry on, my wayward son. If anything though, all of this is a pretty big fucking testament to how good Rockstar is at making fully realized worlds. Even if people's hands look like fucking body horror meat clumps. Oh my god! Now of course, this is the ThorHighHeels channel, so we can't go without at least name-dropping Final Fantasy VII once. The obvious thing to go for would be all of the baseless rumors centered around reviving Aerith, because of this one glitch or whatever where she briefly appears in a church on Disc Who Gives a Fuck, but more interesting to me is the semi-related excursion what I did years ago through the game's debug room. If you don't know, a debug room is a developer area used to quickly access certain areas or trigger specific sequences like, say, a late game boss battle for troubleshooting purposes. It's not really something the player is ever meant to see, though game sharks and hacked save files never really seem to give a shit. And so, back in ye olde year of 2010, I too downloaded such a save file for the PS3 version and spent the weekend doing all manner of dumb shit. Anything from going on a date with Ballot through clipping through the ocean floors as this thing, and even actually glitching the man himself into my party. Something about the debug room though was undeniably creepy. Maybe it was the strange lighting used here and there, or the idea that I was bringing back dead people like I indeed did with Aerith. Or perhaps it was just the all-encompassing abyss with the cryptic messages and the general sense of dread that put me off somewhat. Also, I was home alone here as well. My parents did that thing where they bought a house without immediately doing away with the old one, thus having that house to myself for a good 2 years, scaring myself repeatedly. Anyway, yeah, the debug room would satiate the Aerithic lust that many people had, as it did actually allow you to play decent portions of the game with her in party. Sephiroth, not so much. Dude pretty much locks up your shit the moment you go anywhere besides the world map, though a fun novelty nevertheless. And I guess that this wraps shit up neatly too. From baseless urban legends and childhood fears to some hacking-ass redemption forcing this shit to be true. This totally wasn't like 3 separate video ideas mashed together or anything. Don't worry about it.